Hello, everyone. Very excited to be here today. I see Barantor, Lo-Fi Prince, and who else in chat? Looks like that's it. But both of you, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully more people will come soon. I'm very excited to be here today. I got a new hat to enjoy my farm times. I hope you like it. And you can see up at the top, we've got a new goal. I just learned how to do this kind of thing, and I'm trying to get to 170 followers. So if you know anybody who might be interested in my stream, please feel free to share it with them. But anyway, I am super excited to be here today. Super excited to hang out with all of you. I also want to just take a second so you can all see. Oh, did Gibran, thank you. I'm glad you like my hat. I'm trying to be more festive or something. I don't know. Anyway, I want you all to see the glorious overlay I set up for this interview stream or like chat stream my co-director and I were doing that I didn't end up getting to use. I just want to show you all real quick. So this is what it looked like. Look at this. I was dressed up as a witch. It was supposed to be really cool, and it was like witchy forest, and you can see like I don't know. It just looked cool. It didn't work out. For some reason, the Zoom, like I was pulling the videos from Zoom, I had it cropped and everything was nice and everything was laid out perfectly. And then suddenly the video stopped working. And I was very heartbroken because I tried so hard to make it look so cool for y'all. But anyway, it was still a fun time. If you missed the stream from last Sunday, my co-director and I were talking about porn and ethics around porn and um, all the related stuff. Anyway, there's a pretty lively discussion going on related to it on Discord. And if you're interested in joining our Discord, check out our Patreon for more information. You can see all of the social things down there. It's been quite the day. Thank you all for liking my hat. I got it at a local costume store in Vienna, and it was fascinating. I'm sure it's like pretty standard. It's no different than if I bought it off of Amazon. But there were a lot of costumes where like the pictures of people in the costumes just straight up had blackface on them. The other interesting thing was that the authentic Native American stuff was in the same section as the prehistoric society stuff. So if you wanted to dress as a caveman, it's in the same section, which says a lot about people's conception of Native Americans as ancient and extinct and in the past. Whereas I'm here to tell you, I'm Native American and I'm still here. And I'm on Twitch. We're very modern people. Anyway, I gotta get the game started. I've been too busy preparing my notes so I can like talk to you all about all the cool, exciting things. I forgot to start the game. But it's good to see you too, Krellin. You're up. Yep. We are cow wranglers. Yes. Anyway, basically, I just wanted to be festive and fun. Also, I want to give a shout out to, I think his name, let me actually just look on Discord. He runs Stream Scheme. His name is LJM underscore on Twitter. So ELJAYEM underscore on Twitter. He is cool. Basically, that's all I want to say. He does a lot of good YouTube content related to making it easier for you to have a successful stream. Or Chris, good morning. Basically, he's really cool. He just tries very, very hard to give everybody cool information to improve their streaming quality and their streaming experience. LJM underscore stream scheme. You can also find him on YouTube. This video is very, very useful. Nice person. I had a question today about how to turn off pre-roll ads and everything. And I was unsure, and he literally answered it immediately. And I was like, awesome. That is very kind of you. Just immediately, I like posted the question in his chat on Discord, and then he was like, I gotcha. Um, but hello, good morning, everybody. I'm super excited to be here. Also, to be festive, I've got this cool blanket that has little sheeps on it. It's super cute. Got this at the grocery store because when we first moved into this apartment, when we first moved to Vienna, we were staying in an Airbnb and we had it for a couple of months. So we looked for an apartment and then we moved in and it was rough because this was a completely unfurnished apartment. We literally only had our suitcases, which just had like some clothing and stuff in them. We made a huge mistake of we put our like winter coats in the boxes that were being shipped across the ocean to us, and they didn't come until the spring. So anyway, we had like nothing. We just had like our suitcases, our laptops, and stuff like that. And it was locked down. So everything was closed. So I just went around to all the different grocery stores because we had nothing. Like we borrowed an air mattress from a friend and that was it. And we had this big place and we had no sheets, no blankets. And I went around to all the different grocery stores until I found things because it was December. And this was great because this was like 20 euros. It's 100% like supernatural wool. And it was at one of these like hippie, all natural grocery stores. And it's super cute. It's not very big, but it's definitely better than nothing. And we got like a comforter at a different grocery store. Interesting. It's very interesting in different countries, like what you can buy where and like what is kind of like the place to find any given thing you're looking for. Anyway, let's get back to Castle Farm. And I'm very excited to be with you all today. I just really am. It's so great to hang out with all of you. Chibron, you wrote, I remember that period when I moved to Barcelona into an unfurnished apartment and slept on an air mattress the first few nights living out of my suitcase. I mean, it's kind of one of the things that can be really charming about moving really far away when you don't have very much stuff. One of my absolute favorite things to do when I'm in a new country, even if I'm just traveling, is to go to a grocery store because grocery stores in general are kind of like sensory overload. And sometimes I like to go and just like stand for hours in grocery stores because there's just so many colors and like sights and sounds and smells, and they're good places for deep thoughts for me. Anyway, I love going to grocery stores in countries where like I really don't speak the language yet, or I'm not that good at it and I don't really know the place, because it's just like fascinating. And then I always love like the first couple of times when you go grocery shopping, you put some different things into your basket, but you're not really sure necessarily what anything is. And you're like, I think this is yogurt, or like I think this is, like cheddar cheese, or this looks like whole milk. That's all dairy. Okay. Clearly I like dairy. And then you get home, you're like, this is the weirdest meal I've ever. It's just such a charming experience. Veronta, you said, you said, I had a few charming candlelit dinners. Can be very charming. When Veronta, you said, you can learn a lot by a place by what they put in a grocery too. Yes, I would definitely agree with you. Okay, we're on day 19 of summer, year one. We don't have very much money. I want to buy a chicken coop and get some chickens. I have a fancy plan with chickens that hopefully you all enjoy. Yes. Oh, you can also see, I put some new things on my overlay as well. You can see my name is right there, which my name is Ariana. And if you want to follow me personally on Twitter, it's at Genki Soda. But if you want to follow us as a group, and I am the person who does all the tweeting for Consent Academy, it's at Consent Academy on all social media. Yes. Basically, a lot of my like best thought tweets have moved over to Consent Academy now. And it's kind of weird though to be like switching back and forth between my two accounts and like my copper access already, yes. And liking things and like retweeting myself and commenting. It's weird. Weird experience. All right. So I still don't know what's going on with the audio. Um, very happy spirits. And my copper axe is ready. Weather report. Tomorrow it's going to be clear and sunny all day. All right. I just watered my TV. Nice. Nice job, me. All right. Time to water my plants. Gonna get my little circle here. Yep. So anyway, I don't know what's going on with my audio, but I'm actually having the same problem in pretty much all video games. I like to play this game that's kind of like Warcraft 3-ish called Northgard. It's like a nice game when I don't want to think about anything and I want to just be really like absorbed in it. I like a lot of video games that are like that where they kind of take over your brain, like it's really easy for me to just let my brain turn off a little bit. I need that sometimes. If you ever hang out with me, you will know my brain never shuts off, and it's exhausting to other people as much as it is to me. Anyway, it's Northgard's fun, and it's definitely a game I recommend. Not a game that I think would be really good for streaming, unfortunately, because it's not very interesting to watch. It's interesting to play, but not very interesting to watch. Um, I gotta get rid of all these little tree traps that are everywhere now. Uh, anyway, but I can't have the audio on. And actually, half the time when I try to have the audio on, like I start the game, it just doesn't work. Nothing comes up. And then when it does come up, it's all like garbled and crunchy and weird. I think it's just my laptop. I am currently trying to save up money to buy a new computer. I wish that Bitcoin and similar things were not causing a huge inflation in graphics card prices because then I could get a fancy computer for a lot cheaper. And yeah, anyway, how's everybody doing today? I've done a lot of talking already. I mean, that's pretty normal. Talking is one of my favorite things to do. But how's everybody doing? Oh my goodness. How many times will I have to refill up my water to like just water this one set? I'm gonna have to chop so many things down. I would love to go to the mines today, but I kind of doubt that's gonna happen. I think I got too much to do. Yes. Look at this. Look at this. Did you run? You're doing well. Have a nice mid-afternoon snack of dark chocolate. Oh yeah, I'm right there with you. I got my 99%. Basically baking chocolate. It was great. Krellin, you say, I got up at 6 a.m. to go grocery shopping in the snow. Where do you live that it's still snowy? Also, 6 a.m. to go grocery shopping. I'm sorry. I hope you had a good time. And Orchrist, doing good. Got a raise yesterday. Oh my goodness. Congratulations, Orchrist. I'm so happy for you. You got a raise. That's very exciting. Very exciting. Yes. Um, yes. Wonderful. 99% is hardcore Digibron. It's true. It is not something that I started eating right away, but years ago when I started doing keto, I basically I started doing keto at the advice of my cardiologist and my neurologist. Both of them said that it would be really helpful for me, and it has been. I've gotten fewer intense migraines, and my ADHD is a little easier to manage, surprisingly enough. And I don't remember else what I was going to say. Oh yeah, it just helped a lot. So then I had to get used to not eating milk chocolate and stuff. And I really had already liked dark chocolate, so I just went even darker. Okay. Okay. So let me go pick up my pickaxe. Krellin, I live in the mountains, but the snow isn't sticking. It's cold enough to snow, but warm enough it melts as it lands. Okay. And then to Chirwan, you said, interesting. I would never have imagined that a cardiologist would support a keto diet since it's typically heavy in saturated fats. Yeah, okay. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not any kind of expert on this. But what my doctors have said is that, like, most of the research that linked fat in your diet to fat in your blood was conducted by the sugar industry or funded by the sugar industry. And that it actually seems like the bigger problem is sugar, that like having a lot of sugars increases things like cholesterol, because especially since I started doing keto, my cholesterol and everything has improved tremendously. The only time it was ever even close to kind of bad was when I was on a really high dose of Accutane, or not Accutane, maybe it's Accutane, yeah, it's Accutane, which is like super strong vitamin A to help with acne, but it's like really hard on your liver. And anyway, yeah, my cardiologist suggested I go on the keto diet, and it's been very helpful to me for a very long time. I've been doing it for like almost 10 years now. Oh, hey, you're doing a sweet kickflip? Yes, answer to do kickflip. Pretty cool. All right, I'm gonna do a wee bit of fishing here. But at the same time, you should only ever, eat things that you like, and also if your doctor says it's good for you. But anyway, look at that sweet kickflip Sam just did. That was very successful. More successful than my fishing most of the time. Woo, I'm gonna get the fishy. Yeah. Yes! Rainbow trout. That's very exciting. Broken CD. Ooh. Wow. Well, if you're here and you haven't told me how you're doing today, feel free to let me know in chat how it's going. Um, yes. At some point, I need to post probably in, oh my goodness. Somehow my mouse got off of the game. I don't really know how. And then I lost the ability to catch this fish. So at some point, I want to post on Discord and maybe some other places what my like commands are in Twitch chat. Sunfish, nice. Okay. Nightbot, yeah. I set this up too, some timed questions. I'm trying to learn how to do Twitch streaming better. I want to be super cool for all of you. Okay, so today we're going to talk more about the growth Ponzi scheme and the fundamental fragility of most US and Canada cities and a lot of more recently developed cities, and how we need to really think about these things, because fundamentally the way things have gone, it's very unsustainable. We cannot sustain the way we've been building cities and how things have changed. And if you remember in past videos or stream sessions, we've talked about things like value per acre and retrofitting buildings after they're no longer used, and also, where the world's richest farmland is. We talked a little bit about how part of something kind of underpinning the invasion of Ukraine by Russia is the fact that the world's most fertile soil, the vast majority of it is in Ukraine. This is also leading to like big fears of global famines or just like food shortages. And if you've ever read the book Secular Cycles, or just looked at even recent history like the Arab Spring, you would know that rising food prices and political instability really tend to go hand in hand. I really want to give another shout out to the book Secular Cycles by Peter Turchin. He's very cool. He actually works at he has like a joint posting. He's a professor, but he has a posting here in Vienna at the Vienna Complexity Institute. New record for sunfish. The Vienna Complexity Institute, which is like a really cool research center that I kind of fangirl over. I think I need to have like a content warning on my streams that this is an extremely nerdy space where I'm like, I'm just gonna be super nerdy here. But I really like that you all come along for the ride. Um, and so, another book I've been reading recently that I really want to give a shout out to after I catch whatever I'm catching, which is algae. I'm going to pause the game. Is I just got it this weekend. It is The Time Traveler's Guide to Medieval England by Ian Mortimer. First of all, I had like a big question because in the introduction it was saying, so this is looking at just the 1300s, so 14th century, which is like really medieval period. People often mix up Dark Ages and medieval period. Dark Ages is like way before. People also tend to think that the Black Plague happened during the Dark Ages. No, it didn't. The Dark Ages was hundreds of years before. People kind of mix it all up, which is fine, but it does influence our understanding of the present. I'm a big fan of us like being connected to history and knowing the history. Like if you ever take our Consent for Leadership series at Consent Academy, a huge part of what we talk about is that you should know the history of your activity, your subculture, your scene, and you should also know the history of things like the issues in it and like who created the subculture and all of that. Anyway, this book is really good. I had a big question because it was saying that it was describing like a typical city, and we're going to talk about cities a bunch today. This is part of why I'm bringing this book up. A typical city, and that it would be common on market days for people to be coming into the city with wagons transporting things like corn. And I was like, whoa, wait a second. Like corn is from the New World. Tomatoes, potatoes, corn, most squashes, a lot of foods that are considered staples all around the world actually came from North America. And, North American vegetables and cuisine influence the cuisine of literally the rest of the entire world. Like, imagine Italian food without tomatoes. That was how it was before colonization started to happen. And anyway, I was just like, well, corn, I'm so confused because this is like more than 100 years before. And then I sent a message to him, Ian Mortimer, on Twitter. And I was like, I'm really asking this in good faith. I'm just really confused because this is like core to my understanding. And he was like, you're right. But corn is actually a catch-all word for any grains in British English. Like pudding is a catch-all word for any desserts in British English. And I was like, my mind is blown. And he's like, yeah, like maize, which became called corn eventually, is definitely from North America. But yes, very cool. This guy's cool. I looked at his tweets and replies, and he regularly answers people's questions, especially if it's related to something he wrote in his books, which is very good marketing. But this book is very charming. It's very well written and very engaging, and it makes you really feel like you're alive in history, which I mean, technically we all are, but anyway. And I see, Krellin, you wrote some good things in here. Who gets to define what is a typical city? Well, one of the things we'll talk about is actually historically, city development across the world has followed pretty much the same pattern. They all have some pretty core similarities to them. And the modern suburban experiment that we've been doing is actually a big departure from like more than 1,000 years of cities. Also, shout out to the city of Urb, which was one of the first cities ever, and it's where we get words like urban. And it's because it was like the first city, and it was so powerful, this creation of a city, that it just became the thing. Anyway, Krellin, who gets to define what a typical city is? It is a big deal. And I'm sort of just saying average over time throughout history cross-culturally. And then Krellin, you also said if it's not cabbage or a turnip, it's probably New World food. Absolutely. De Chibron, you said to Krellin, you still get to watch how pretty the snow looks as it falls, even if it doesn't stick. I'm jealous. Yeah, snow is pretty. Snow is definitely pretty. Anyway, I'm gonna get back to fishing. I'm feeling really peppy today. I'm just so excited to hang out with all of you. Every time it's in between, I'm always just like, yeah, I can't wait for the next stream. I really do want to start streaming on Wednesdays or Thursdays as well. at a slightly different time. Probably also doing video games, but chiller, like not so much talking about economics and everything. Um, or I could talk about a different topic. If there's a topic you would like me to talk about and a game you would like me to play that you think my computer can run, please let me know either here or on Discord or on Twitter, wherever. I'm gonna get this fish. Oh my goodness. Such skill is required. Thanks again for everybody for suggesting the training rod previously. Very helpful. Very helpful. Oh my goodness. I got distracted by the people walking over and I just missed the fact that I got an exclamation point right as I put my fishing rod in. Can I get these bubbles? Yes. I got the bubbles. Hit. Yes. Oof. Oof. Sunfish. Oh, I gotta eat something. Oh no, I made myself sluggish from overexertion. What did I do? Okay, let's have some Joja Cola that we got out of the trash. To Tribune, you said have not noticed any big benefit to casting the fishing line into bubbles when I see them. I think technically it's supposed to mean you get faster bites, but the bites tend to be lower quality. But I'm not an expert. How much soda do I have to drink before I don't feel sick anymore? uh, so yeah. Okay, well, I still feel sluggish from overexertion. Exhausted. Yeah, I got some trash out of the trash. Let's get out of the beach and see if there's any good foraging. Trash cola. Yes, Krillin. Also, just so you all know, I tried to set it up so that I have an auto-timed chatbot thing happening for before commercials because I learned today that there's no way to actually turn off commercials entirely. Like I can turn off ads, but that'll mean that people always get pre-roll ads, which means that people who want to join and are interested will have to sit through like a minute and a half of ads before they can join the stream, which is not cool. So I figured it would be best to do ads in midstream. So that way, I see bubbles over there. That way, it'll just give us time to like take a break. I can get, drink something or dash to the bathroom if I need to or whatever. I got a be right back screen actually set up now, which is pretty cool. And everything. And there's a warning, like just before the ads are set to go, because I have them set to be a minute and a half once every hour to make it so that there's less likely to be ads before pre-roll. I have to check though on my little dashboard to make sure that that's actually working. But anyway, it'll help so that people don't just feel bummed out because they try to come chill out with us and they just get a bunch of ads in their face. And you'll have a warning now before the ads come. So you will, and I'll get a warning because I can see the chat and it'll let me know. So I'll be like, okay, gotta pause my thought for a second. Yeah, it is really delightful though to hang out with you all every week. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. There's this trend we've been talking about, the growth Ponzi scheme, and just how growth in America has sort of changed overall. And we talked about how, there's these big issues of how cities make money from infrastructure that they build and development projects. And one of the things that's really interesting is if you look at the US and Canada, especially, and I'm definitely going to be kind of North America centric a little bit because I don't know cities as well outside of them. And my experiences in, say, places like Japan, even in rural Japan, things were incredibly different. So I'm going to compare the US and Canada a lot to Japan because I think you can see some pretty different priorities and design perspectives and the way things have gone. And it's really interesting because Japan is also a really car heavy use place. And it's definitely like you only ride a bicycle everywhere if you can't help it, or I don't know, you just are unafraid of death and the face of people just. I've literally been run off the road by cars in Japan, like crashed into a wall in order to avoid being hit by a car. And the people just gave me a little beep and a wave. Anyway, I digress. I'll compare a lot because I know Japan really well. I lived there for many, many years. And I lived both in just outside of Tokyo proper. I lived in an area called, well, the train station I got off at was in Saitama in Nishikawaguchi, which is I lived in Warabi City. Anyway, this is getting out of what we need to talk about. Suffice it to say, I lived really close to main area Tokyo, and it was great. And I also lived in Kumamoto Prefecture in Kumamoto City, but I spent a lot of time outside of the city. So I can talk pretty comfortably about comparing the US and Japan sort of way of designing things. I'm not an expert. I'm really, as I've mentioned before, I'm going to put this driftwood with the other driftwood. I'm really building off of research done by other people. One of the books I've been reading recently that's also, I think, a really good book to recommend is by the same guy who wrote Lean Logic and also Surviving the Future. Surviving the Future is a book I super, super recommend. It is, if you want to be hopeful about the future of the world, Surviving the Future is definitely one of the ways to go. Let me check out the fortune teller and the weather. Displeased, okay. And weather report. Beautiful and sunny tomorrow. Fine. I accept. I accept. So yeah. Oh, dear Ariel, I read an article about you in the local paper. I'm so impressed with your progress on the farm. Keep this up and dear old dad might be retiring in a Fern Islands luxury bungalow after all. Smiley face. Love, Dad. Also, real quick, I have a question for everyone watching the stream. Is there like auto captions? I tried to get an extension to make it so that there would be like a speech to text auto captioning so that people who can't have the volume on or who can't hear or have any kind of audio processing disorder can enjoy the stream too. So if you can see captions, let me know. Ariel, I'm gathering data on the correlation between soil alkalinity and crop fructose levels. Long story short, I need a fresh melon from your farm. If you brought me one, I'd be very grateful. Heck yes, I can do that. That sounds lovely. No captions, bummer. Okay. Well, I'll have to figure it out because it's very important to me to be as accessible as possible. It's one of the reasons why I tried to read out things that are happening on the stream so that people who can't see can also enjoy, or people who can't watch. And then also I want the audio side to be accessible as possible too. I'm gonna just pick these, look at these lovely poppies. Okay, and I think I need a poppy for the community center. We'll try to figure out how to get the captions working. Thank you all for letting me know. Okay, so I would like to stress to you is that even if you live like literally in the most rural places of Japan, there will be public transit, and there will be public transit that connects up to the whole national grid of public transit systems so that you can basically get anywhere. If If you live in a really tiny town in a really rural area, it's not going to be amazing public transit. It's not going to be like a train that comes every 10 or 15 minutes. Oh no, I picked up my tapper. Bummer. I was just trying to chop down this little tree that's growing here where I don't want it. Got to put the tapper back. Always a bit frustrating when that happens. Um, so it's not going to be like public transit that comes every 15 minutes and is perfect and great and beautiful. It might be things where the train comes once or twice a day, a couple times a day, and there'll be a local bus that goes around, and it might be mostly during commute times, but it'll still be available other times. And some cities in Japan, the public transit stops at a certain time. Like in Tokyo, the trains all shut down, and then I'm out of energy, so I'm gonna eat this survival burger because I have a lot of other. Oh, or Chris, the overlay might be hidden. Okay, yeah, I really want it to be accessible. Anyway, in Japanese towns, in like Tokyo, for example, the trains shut down at a certain time, and everybody I talked to, and the general theory was it's kind of a conspiracy theory to make taxi drivers more money. Because for a lot of people, it comes to a certain point in the night, and you're like, okay, the trains have stopped, and they'll be starting again in a few hours. So I could just stay out. They start again in the morning at 5 a.m. I could just stay out until then, which is what I always did because you can just go and take a nap in McDonald's or whatever. That's what all the cool kids do. And a lot of people though would be like, I don't want to do that. I just want to be home. I just want to be in my bed. And so people would often pay like really expensive taxi fees. And it, in some ways, it does make sense, you know, in a space that's got such good public transit that is like really always on time, very clean, very like just nice in many ways. It would probably be hard to sort of be a taxi driver. I have planned trips for people in Japan before. Like they pay me a little bit of money and I do this big interview with them about preferences around like morning person, night person, how adventurous are you as a food eater, you know, like how comfortable are you being in over your head and getting lost and things like that. And also what kinds of stuff do you like to do? Anyway, I make these like little travel packages for friends sometimes. Where do these rocks just show up from? They just like arrive on the beach. Anyway, this is a huge forest. Oh, I just remembered we've got a apple tree. That's very exciting. Okay, so then I've had friends who, when I've planned the trips for them, they have said to me that they like absolutely don't want to take the public transit because public transit systems in countries where they don't really speak the language make them really nervous, and they'd much rather just have like a piece of paper with the correct text written down on it that they can hand to a taxi driver and not have to worry about it. And they asked me to make that for them, kind of thing. So I do that. And I've had other people who are the other way around who are like, you know, with Google Maps now, it's really easy to just like figure out what the deal is. Can I chop this down? Oh, it's not strong enough to break the log. Okay, I need to upgrade it again. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. And they've really been like, okay, but I don't want to take a taxi. I don't want to be worried about them asking me a question and I can't answer it. And on occasion in Japan, I've had experiences being in taxis where they just were really, really racist and telling me all kinds of terrible things because they thought I couldn't speak Japanese, which they were wrong about. Anyway, I'm getting a little far afield here. So I'm going to really be able to compare development and structure of American cities to Japanese cities. I'm not saying that they are perfect. I'm not saying that they are without problems. There are plenty of problems with how Japan does lots of stuff. And I think it's still a good sort of comparison point. I'm going to sell these blueberries. Yes, I'm going to sell the blueberries. But I know I need poppies for the community center. I need money if I want to get this chicken coop situation going. Oh yeah, look at that jam that just popped up. Okay, I gotta go get some more little berries. So yeah, I'm mostly going to be comparing Japan and the US because those are the two places that I have the most experience with. I can bring this melon to Demetrius, and that is very exciting. I'm going to make some more jam. And yeah, we can talk about sort of why, in some ways, Japan is really well prepared for the future. Um, though I'm not going to say it's like perfectly well prepared for things like climate change and the net energy cliff. When we run out of cheap energy. Um, Also, like, I think the price of gas going up so much higher is a pretty good example of just some of the fundamental fragilities of our cities and how we organize things. Because for a lot of people, the prices of gas, like going up a lot, has made gas prohibitively expensive or just become a much bigger portion of their living expenses. And for a lot of us, we can't handle that much change in things like our rent or food costs or gas. And currently, for all of us, all three are going up. Okay, Demetrius, I gave him the melon and he says, this is perfect. It's just what I need for my research. It's going to be hard not to eat it. Thanks a bunch. I mean, you can eat it, dude. Hello, Aradin. Welcome. Welcome. How you doing today? Oops, my hand was in the wrong spot. Okay, I am entirely out of energy and I don't have a ton of food. I'm going to try to do some foraging and see about fixing this problem. I'm having such a good time. It's so nice to hang out with you all. Such a good time. Oh man, it's Abigail. I'm gonna say hi. I'm gonna say hi. Yes. Wait, come here. Abigail says, I'm looking forward to fall. The cool mountain breeze, the swirling of red petals, the smell of mushrooms. Sigh. Yeah, sounds pretty nice. All right, Linus. I'm happy by myself, you know. I don't need new friends. Right. Not bad? You're not doing bad, Adam? Yeah, I'm pretty good today. I'm very hyped. Very hyped to be here. I always look forward to this, hanging out all together. Madhu says, hey, have any interesting farm stories to tell me? Not really. Guess not. Yeah, sorry. It's just farming. Farming. That's pretty much what's happening. Okay, so going back to the problem of cities and growth. Lots of cities and towns are building lots of new roads and development projects and other infrastructure every year. And generally speaking, traditionally, we've only built these kinds of things when we needed them. They were kind of a needs-based thing. And yes, there were always pitfalls to this. Oh, I feel like I can go this way. Isn't there something this way? I guess not. Generally, there have been pitfalls to this, which means that like you might have more housing demand than housing availability. Oh yeah, you're right. Did you run the baths will restore my energy? Will, I'm very glad you pointed that out. Oh, yep, that's the men's locker room. I mean, yep. Okay, I'm gonna take a drink. All right, so I like how much I look like a mermaid. It's pretty good. Um, so then, generally speaking, some of the pitfalls have been things like you have more demand for housing than you have availability. Yeah, from witch to cowboy, Radin. Thank you. I'm glad you like the costumes. I've been trying to, I've just missed my Geek Space TV days. For any of you who don't know, I used to stream with a different nonprofit called Geek Space TV. It has since shut down, but it was really lovely. We did mostly role-playing game streams, and I always got to dress up in fun costumes, and I've missed it tremendously. And all the people. Well, most of the people. Because I got really close with some of them. Some of them I never really had the chance to get to know very well. And that's also kind of sad because it would have been cool. Yeah, those were the days. It was really good. It was really good. And you all should still follow Anna Geeks. Very cool person. Anyway, one of the problems has been that like if you only do development as it's needed rather than any kind of predictive development, it can mean that people really need housing or need more infrastructure and you don't have it. Oh, Rodney, you said it made you think of that. And then Orcris, you said the eat, pray, kill days. Yeah, those were fun. I was maybe my most elaborate costume ever. And then Krellin, we thought they would never end. Yeah, I mean, I think it's complicated why it ended, but it mostly came down to our expenses were just too high. Rent in Seattle is really expensive, and none of us had spaces large enough to just keep the studio equipment there all the time. And we kind of hit our maximum number of viewers. We kind of like, and then the amount of money that our community could donate to us, we kind of hit the limit of that too. And so, oh yeah, prehistoric tibia. And it's just a very financial thing, right? Where it was like, we wanted to grow more, but we kind of plateaued in growth. And the things that we could have done to help us grow our audience, you know, I'm not the kind of person who necessarily thinks bigger is always better. Yeah, and Anna wouldn't accept volunteer help. Yes, I wasn't necessarily going to bring that up too much because I think that's a complicated thing. Accepting help is not something that comes easy for everybody. Yes, Dishabron, I do have fans that follow me to my new job. Well, I mean, I like to think I have friends. And I do still do TTRPGs with my friends. I just finished up the main chapter of a big campaign I did with some friends in D&D 5e that was going, we had every week for over a year. It was maybe the most like successful regular role-playing game that I did with friends outside of the streams because we were pretty good about always meeting for streams. Very occasionally, one of us had to like take a week off or something. And for a little while, I was playing the Star Wars RPG with some friends. And I'm hoping to get back into that very soon. And yeah, lots of cool stuff. I love role-playing games. Let's see. I'm gonna make some iron bars because I want to be able to upgrade some more things. Eventually. Eventually. Okay. Baron Tour, you said nice. It's great when it works out like that. I'm playing the Star Wars RPG right now. Last night got a droid. Nice. Yes, Krellin. Star Wars, it's the Edge of the Empire with a custom dice. Yes. And I'm DMing it, or I was. But we had to stop because basically everybody got pregnant and didn't really have the like energy for it anymore, which is totally fair. But hopefully we'll start up again because most of them had their babies. And I really liked it. I thought it was a really fun system. I kind of felt that it was similar to a little bit to Exalted and that it really encouraged people to be very descriptive, which I really enjoy as well. Yes, that's a great idea, Orchrist. Consent Academy may be a fun place to try something like Consenticle. Yeah, I've been wondering about like, should we do like groups of people streaming role-playing games together? Maybe some of Consent Academy volunteers and some of you all might be fun to get together and do that and live stream it as another kind of content we can do together. What was I talking about before? Anyway, Krellin, you said, I think you might be underestimating how tired new parents are going to be. Winky face. You're probably right, though they have suggested it. And I've been cautiously hopeful. Cautiously hopeful because I love role-playing games. They are super fun. Yes, and I miss my Geek Space TV days. So, okay. Generally speaking, infrastructure developed as needed. You can do perspective development and things like that to try to keep up with demand before it comes in. But American and Canadian cities since the 1940s have really changed up the game. Aradin, you said Edge of the Empire is probably one of my current favorite systems. And Brontor, Sleep with a Newborn is impossible sometimes. Yes. Oh, it is midnight. Hopefully these two will finish before I have to sleep. And if not, I will just leave them for the morning. So then the problem is cities and towns are building so much new stuff, roads, infrastructure, development projects, and yet they're going deeper and deeper into debt every year too, when ostensibly building new roads should increase, other developments, which should then lead to new revenue from things like taxes in terms of property and sales taxes and, excise taxes, car taxes, whatever. I don't think I know what excise taxes mean. If anybody knows what an excise tax is, tell me in the chat. I'm gonna go to bed because I don't want to risk falling asleep because I'm distracted. And this is coming from this sort of method of development that Strong Towns, this nonprofit I've mentioned before, calls the suburban experiment. It's a method of development that is drastically different than basically any other in the history of cities. Remember, earlier I mentioned that generally speaking, across the world, since the development of cities as a sort of technology for organizing human beings that we've had, they've kind of all been pretty similar. I mean, there are major differences, like in sort of Heian period Japanese cities. It was very focused on these layers going from outside to inside. I think I've mentioned it before. One second. I'm going to put my Be Right Back screen because I want to show you this book. One second. Okay, thank you for waiting. Thank you, Krellin. Excise taxes are taxes on specific commodities like fuel taxes or tobacco taxes. Thank you. Sadly, I didn't actually find the book I was looking for. Unless, is it here? Oh my goodness, it's here. I didn't realize it was right next to me. Okay, the book I was looking for is called Wrapping Culture by Joy Hendry. I've mentioned it before on the stream. It is, I think, a PhD thesis that was put into a book. And I think it takes this central premise a little far, but the main idea here is that Japanese culture has a really strong emphasis on layering and sort of wrapping things. I think they have a good picture of Heian City development in here, but maybe not. But anyway, they were very layered cities with lots of layers of walls to them. And that is something that is very different. Like walled cities were kind of always a thing for protection. It's kind of, you can usually see if you look at a lot of European cities, like there's the old city center, which usually had walls around it. And right around it is the last place you look. Anyway, this book's really good. It talks about lots of cool stuff. A couple other books that are references that I think are really good. The Return of Martin Guerre. It's actually about the first recorded identity theft in history. Probably identity theft occurred well before that, but this is the first sort of written record that we have of identity theft in France. I forget what year it happened in. Let me look. And basically, it was this guy left to be in a war and like never came back. And then one day, this other dude shows up and says he's Martin Guerre. And then years later, potentially the real Martin Guerre comes back, and there's this big trial. This book is the court records of the trial and sort of like testimony and everything. And it's really cool because it was one of the few times we got like a really intimate look into the lives of sort of like peasants in sort of medieval France. Because most of the time, all of the records we have about like daily life were of sort of very wealthy and very powerful people. But this book also lets us know a lot about things like infrastructure and physical built spaces. And the last book I want to give a shout out to is actually just an economics book. It's Managing Without Growth, Slower by Design, Not Disaster. This is the second edition by Peter Victor. Also a very good book, pretty approachable. If you liked things like donut economics, you would probably like this too. But as you can see, it is a thick book with small text. Anyway, I'm a big nerd, if you didn't already know that. So anyway, so the suburban experiment is a method of development that is drastically different than basically the average way we've done things with any other history of cities. They've all followed pretty similar patterns. Also, we have ads about to come up. So I'll wait to talk about this till after the ads. Just let me know when they're finished. Gotta get Pam this pale ale. I'm gonna just chill out while the ads go. Queen of Sauce. Yes, maki roll. I'm so excited to cook a maki roll. Think I can probably make that now. Reverend Moore, I love that. Thick book, small text. Gonna be my next Tinder bio. Hello. Perfect. Let me know when the ads actually go. Fortune teller. The spirits are very unhappy today. Well, and weather reports. Yes, it's gonna rain all day tomorrow. Time for the mines. I'm so excited. Also, I can see that one or two new people just came. Sorry, we're about to have an ad break, but please stick around. How much? I definitely have enough to at least upgrade one thing. I don't know if you could see it, but the dog in the corner was just vibrating like. Anyway, it was very cute and silly. I don't think I've. Oh, I do have money. I do probably have enough money to upgrade something. But I also want to build a chicken coop. I want to build a chicken coop now. Hmm. Oh, give my bone to the dog. Yeah, okay. No, can't. Nice suggestion, Tipron. Let me check. I can check. Ads were a free magazine, a video game, taxes, and a car. Nice. Well, seems kind of like a really interesting mishmash. Um, okay. I tried to give the bone to the dog at Ditcherburn's suggestion. Did not work. Um, yes, I gotta water the plants. I almost forgot about that. Apparently, the Reverend Mort, you said, apparently the ads Swedish Switch thinks Fit Your Channel is apparently a Jake Gyllenhaal movie, an online electronics retailer, a phone service provider, and Oatly. And Brontery's it all done here. Yeah, but interesting. I think Oatly is like oat milk. Huh, I think I was watering soil. Oh, vegan food alternatives. I thought it was just oat milk, but maybe it's more. I have never tried the Soylent stuff. I don't know why. It just doesn't appeal to me. Like the reference and stuff, I'm kind of like, yeah, Soylent Green is people. Like, I get that you're trying to be clever, but that to me seemed like it would be clever for like a meme or like a joke post, not what you actually brand your stuff. I don't know, it just doesn't appeal to me. Krellin, you said picking peppers is fun to say because alliteration. I agree. Reverend Mort, they expanded into stuff like ice cream, supposedly pretty good according to my vegan uh Dipshubran. I was always puzzled at their branding choice to name it Soylent. Yep, Reverend Mort. I mean, the Soylent guy is not really vegan food. It's weird Silicon Valley dude bro efficiency. Yes, yes, I would agree. Okay, yeah, yeah. So let's talk about development some more. Urban development. So strong towns, another just, I know I've mentioned them many times, but they do really amazing work and they call it the suburban experiment. And it's a method of development that is really unsustainable. Yes, Krellin, you are 100% right. Efficiency is killing us. We could actually use less efficiency. And to add to what you're saying, because definitely this is a yes and, uh, efficient, the more efficient a system is, the less it is able to handle shocks. We see this with things like just-in-time shipping, which is why, there's a shipping delay somewhere and then immediately you have empty shelves in the stores because it's a very efficient, especially by one particular definition of efficiency, system, but it's not a very flexible system. So the more efficient it is, the sort of less robust it is. Oh yeah, I'm gonna put water in your water bowl. I'm sorry, I've definitely forgotten more than once, Kitty. Oh yes, I will allow. Uh, I would not. Okay, this is really interesting, Reverend Moore. Your thing, it asked me if I wanted to allow the word asshat, but I don't have any swears blocked because I like swearing. And this is listed as an 18 plus channel or like adults channel or something. Anyway, but it gave me the option. So here you wrote, also that guy is a complete asshat whose weird housing quote experiment ruined a neighborhood sort of. It's complicated and weird and tied into problematic views of homelessness, but it's a fascinating view that into that horrific I know programming so I can all solve everything view of intelligence. Yeah, I hate that. It's so toxic and like dangerous and weird and creepy. Aradin, are you asking what is automod? I want to get a chicken coop. So I'm gonna take all my wood, my fiber, and my rocks. I don't remember what I need for a chicken coop, but I think this is it. I don't think I need any of these other things. I should have enough money for a chicken coop, hopefully. Yeah, it was it Automod? Yes, I think it was Automod. Automod gave me the option to allow what Reverend Mort was saying. But it was interesting because in all my settings, I hadn't set it to block any profanity or any words related to sex because we talk about sex a lot on our streams. Um, especially related to consent. But I did block a lot of other words, so it was just interesting. Krellin, you wrote, I know programming and think I can solve everything, but the solution to most problems is giving people free stuff, and programming tech pros don't ever seem to realize that. Really, Krellin, I mean, you're right. It is definitely often the solution to things. Construct farm buildings. I can make a coop. Yes! I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm gonna get a chicken coop. Barn. Okay, yep, just doing the coop. I could do the barn, but I want to do the coop because chickens. Build. Oh man, I just realized though, like I don't have anyone here on the farm if I need to destroy some like trees or something or some grass. But let's just put it here. Yo, did Chibrin, you say you recommend building a silo first before the coop or the barn? Can I do both? Maybe I have enough money to do both. Oh no, I need 10 clay and 5 copper bars. But I can come back and do that. So I'm going to do the coop first because I take your point, Chibrin, but it'll take a few days to build it anyway. So I'm just going to build it here and then I'll get a silo. Um, and I need clay and copper bars. So I'll go and tomorrow I'm going to go to the mines and then I will get more copper because I don't actually think I currently have enough copper. But I'm excited for chickens. I'm excited for chickens. Very excited. They're very cute. Bok bok. Exactly, bok bok. Okay, so then the way we've started developing things is actually in many ways guaranteed the decline of American cities and Canadian cities. Arad and you said for this topic, urban development, would playing something like civilization be a little more relevant? Yes. I mean, I'm talking about community health. And in civilization, you don't really do any like urban design. I think a city builder game would technically be more relevant. Um, oh, Silly Mythial is now following me on Twitch. Thank you. Thank you for the follow. I don't know if they're still here, but thank you. I think we've made some more progress on the follow goals. I don't know if it's updated yet. SimCity, yeah, might be good. But I think this game is really good because it kind of combines everything. Obviously, I'm not designing any more of this city. Oh, Silly Mythial, hello. Welcome. Oh, right, I have a bone that I can take to the museum. I'm gonna go do that right now before I forget. I'm just like wandering around the town kind of aimlessly, like going through the trash and just like talking to myself. um, yeah, City Skylines, Krellin, is a good one, but that game is really hard on computers. It's the way it utilizes RAM because it loads basically all of the assets into RAM. Anyway, it's rough. And I really like to talk about the community aspects as well. Okay, I donated to the museum. Let me read this book. Let's see what the book says. There's a book missing here. I'm trying to get this book. Not water the ground. There we go. On foraging, the local woods and mountains are great places to find wild produce. A good forager will clear out any weeds, stumps, or stones from these areas. So, so if you clear it out, there's more space for produce. Reverend Mort, you wrote, the tragic reality people ignore is that capitalism never left behind the zero-sum, short-term view that enabled colonialism. It just replaced countries with corporations and slave labor with outsourced slave labor. You are absolutely right. Per capita, there are more slaves now than at any other time in history. So, of course, big corporations ruin the cities they operate in. Yeah. Silly Mythiel, I'm mostly here for the conversation, not so sure the game fits either, but I'm not fussed about it. And at least this game highlights the corporate antagonism to citizen ideals. Yeah, I mean, I would also just say that this game is pretty fun in general, and it's fun to play while talking to all of you. And I like to talk about community, right? The early, oh yes, I got a geode. The early streams in this series, we talked a lot about like what is a healthy community and how do we know? There's a sweet pea here. How do we know? And like, how do we make communities healthier and more robust? And we also talked about how, like, the fact that I was able to leave my soul crushing job at Joja Mart corporate was I got bread in the trash. Nice. That looks like a fresh baguette. Delicious. Um, how being able to leave the sort of corporate hellscape that my character was in was basically an example of like intergenerational wealth and privilege, and that we can't forget how many people don't have these options. Anyway, yeah, you don't have to watch me play. You can just listen and join the chat and stuff. No pressure. And yes, Reverend Mort, how dare you, a streamer, enjoy the thing you play? I agree. I definitely enjoy this game very much. It's very relaxing to me, and it's I would love City Skylines more if there was like a social element to it. Not, and I don't mean multiplayer specifically, though that could be fun, but I mean like if you had to think about the social and cultural aspects. Because the other book I was reading, I forgot to mention, by the same guy who wrote Surviving the Future and Lean Logic, whose name escapes me at this moment. He wrote a book about how the way we organize the layout of cities and public spaces and towns as well. Look at this dog. He was just sleeping with his little tongue out, sitting on the grass. You are cute. You are a cute dog. Actually really influences public autonomy and community health and discourse. And I just started reading it, but it's very fascinating. Silly Mythiel, or Reverend Mort, you should watch though because adorable cowboy outfit. Thank you. I'll take the compliment. Silly Mythiel, hey, I wish I could switch you and the game in size. I could make my video bigger. I was just going to say, not watching you miss out on the great costumes. Thank you. These are so nice things to hear. Yeah, related to my video size, I kept it small because I didn't want to like get in the way. But recently I was just so down on myself because I was like, I don't look super good on camera, and I've had like really bad allergies recently. So I have these huge dark circles that I've like tried to get rid of, but if I like lean down, you can see either just like big dark circles. They probably don't even look as bad as I think they do. And I was just feeling really bad about myself. What is that? There's like this little red thing here. Oh, I think it's just a piece of log. Okay, and then I was like, I had to remind myself, I'm allowed to age. I'm allowed to get older. And that feels really stupid because it's like so obvious and also something you cannot help. But I also was like, yeah, but I'm allowed to not look the same as I did 10 years ago because I feel like I'm doing something wrong because I'm not like every early 20-something streamer. But anyway, Ziri, welcome. Costumes, consenting costumes. I love it. Check the traveling seller to Tiburon. They often have things that are needed for the community center. Oh, that's a good point. Thank you. I will go do that. So this is the thing that's hard. I have all these notes I've prepared, but I don't want to just give lectures, right? Like if I want to just give lectures, I would just do YouTube because I could just sit there and talk at myself in the camera and be more hard on how I look and just be my, yeah, as you say, Arad, and my own worst critic. And yeah, self-love and support would also be a good one, Reverend Mort. And anyway, what was I going to say? I don't want to just lecture. Oh no, they closed already. I was too late. But thanks for the suggestion, Ditib Run. Um, I'm going to do more foraging. I got to go down south to the little area near the sewer sort of drain because there's often good things down there. So I have all these notes, but then we always have such a fun time in chat together and we just chill out and I never get through it very much. But it's also nice because then my content lasts longer. And I get to hear from all of you all of the interesting thoughts that you have and the questions and the like. Sometimes you just know more than I do about these things. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you know a lot more than I do about a lot of these things. Because I'm definitely not like an expert. I'm just a big nerd. But anyway, it's just so lovely. I know I've said that like 10 times today, but I just really appreciate all of you and hanging out and chatting and appreciate the people lurking too. And I hope that you enjoy yourself here. So, I was talking about how the current method of development is actually really unique in the course of history. Silly Mythiel, I know so little about so much. Yes, same. Same. The like things I actually feel confident to talk about are so small compared to all the things I don't feel confident to talk about. With one of my communication skills clients, because I have like private clients that I teach communication skills to, especially like intercultural competence, because they like live and work outside of the country that they're from, and they have all these stresses. I was talking with one of them the other day about like all of the things that we knowingly remain ignorant of and the choices that we make there and like what does it say about the things that we consider important to know about and whatnot. Anyway, I really appreciate that guy because I ask him weird and stressful questions all the time and like want him to like show his thinking and give me deep answers, and he's very, very willing to engage and I deeply appreciate it. So I need clay and I need copper bars and I need wood, and then I can make a, what's the word I'm looking for? Tower that you can put food for animals into. I don't remember the word. Yep, I can make one of those tomorrow. Aradin, I like your question. And I thank you for saying feel free not to answer. But do costumes help with the self-consciousness as you're kind of being something else? I would say that they do. Silo, thank you to Tiburon. I would say that the costumes help, but they're also just playful, and I like to be playful and silly. And I usually describe, like when people hang out with me, that it's like a silly safe space. Like you're free to be as silly as you want to be. Because we live in a world that really tries to like beat the silly and whimsy out of people emotionally. And like as adults, I've watched a lot of adults who like can't play with kids. Like if a kid is trying to play with them, they basically freeze up and struggle because they can't really access that side of themselves anymore. And I have strived my whole life to not lose that part of myself because it's very important to me. But anyway, uh, there is a whole theory in linguistic education that if you give all of the people in the class the choice to like get names that are common in the target language and to adopt a new persona and put on costumes, especially like makeup and like wear clown noses or whatever, that you lower what's called the affective filter, which is the ways in which our emotions influence our cognition and make us like more nervous, and that costumes in the language learning classroom can be really helpful. Um, Different nerd facts, because I have a master's in linguistics and education. Um, and then Silly Mythiel, you said, I still seem to be confident about speaking about so many things. I have to let me pause for a second. I have to remind myself often to aggressively state my ignorance because people mistake me for having or professing expertise that is not appropriate, and silly is important. I relate to that a lot, Silly Mythiel. My whole life, people have said I'm very confident, and really it's just that I forget to get nervous until after the fact, or I don't even think about it because my brain is just going too fast, and I forget to be like nervous about things. Um, and so people have really like trusted my just like off the top of my head shower thought about something, and then later gotten upset with me because it wasn't like I had some deep expertise. I was literally just like, this is what I think at the moment. This sounds good or correct. And you got to be really careful with that. Um, I'm going to pick these blueberries and then I'm going to get my stuff, but I'm going to go to the mines. And because I don't think I can order another building yet, actually. I got my inventory all ready to go order another silo. And I don't think I can do that yet because I think the coop has to be finished. And yes. Okay, I'm gonna sell these blueberries. Very exciting. I'm gonna put this stuff away, get my sword. I'm gonna put all of the things away for the silo time. I'm gonna get some food. Coffee does give energy and health and a little speed, which is nice. And I'm gonna get, don't have a lot of forageables. It's kind of frustrating. Okay, well, spicy berries and grapes are fine. It's hard to use the gold star grapes because I'm like, man, these could be so good for friendship with Vincent, but gotta do what you gotta do. Robin, thank you for working in the rain. Um, oh man, okay, there's more exciting stuff in chat. Aradin, you said the beginning of true knowledge is acknowledging just how much we have left to learn. Yes, we could all be very much like Socrates and say, the only thing that I know is that I know nothing. Barantor, that's really interesting about the costumes. Silly Mythiel, when I lost my original account, there is a reason I chose Silly as my new moniker. Nice, that's cool. I would love to hear more about that. Krellin, forgetting to be nervous or scared is confidence or bravery. Sure, you could say that. Okay. Wow, so many blueberries. Silly Mythiel, lack of fear is not bravery. Action despite fear is bravery. I think that there are lots of different ways that we can define bravery. But I don't feel brave or confident. I mostly just don't think about it because my brain is too focused on I have a thing that I need to say because it's in my brain and it's there and I need to tell people. Um, Jiri, you wrote, all right, I've got to throw some nerd dice around soon, but have a somewhat on topic thought. I think there will always be a need for single family vehicles from an accessible standpoint, even if public transit becomes the norm. Yeah, I'm not saying that there will never be a need for these things. And I think there are some places because of how we've developed them that it will be. And I do think that, especially for people who need it for accessibility reasons, the option should still remain. And I just think it shouldn't be like the default. And we should organize cities and towns in such a way where you don't need a car in order to get the things that you need, because then that really ends up hurting the most poor and the most vulnerable people because they can't always have a car, and cars are so expensive. Like, it's not just the sticker price, it's the gas, it's the insurance, it's the maintenance, it's the tires, it's the oil changes, it's the, you get into an accident, they cost hundreds of thousands of dollars often over their lifetime. Krellin, you wrote, that's really diminishing of those who lack fear, Millie. Silly Mythiel, it doesn't diminish them, Krellin. It just doesn't make them brave. It makes sense. It makes them fearless. I do think it's a good, I think I could agree with that. The differentiation, between, not silly, brave and fearless. Because fearless is really without fear. But I get fear and stress and nervousness after the fact a lot of the time, so I'm not sure what that is. They could still be heroic, putting others first. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really good at like semantic debates because I'm never really sure. Oh man, like Robin's just shaking. I'm never really sure. And I feel like the more I try to like land on a very clear, like discrete definition of one word versus another, it kind of slips through my fingers. Reverend Mort, fun fact, at least when I was a kid, if you had a medical mobility issue, you got a government subsidized discount on taxi services. That's cool. All right, we're going to the mines. Yes. Um, okay, so one of the problems is, though, because of the way we've organized a lot of things and where people really have to move for jobs and go around and there's not a lot of infrastructure and things aren't always that great, is there's also this other problem of there's not as much incentive to stay and make things better in any given place, right? Like we talked about last time with Seattle, the average person who moves there lives there for less than 5 years. I did that. Some other people in chat mentioned that they did that. I think it was Brontor who said that you did that. Anyway, I need copper today. So what do we think? Should I go down to the 50th floor and keep trying to get lower, or should I go? I don't actually need tons of copper. I have enough copper bars. That answered my own question. Barantor, you said rural areas will probably always need things that public transportation can't provide because of location, unfortunately. Yes, and in Japan, in the rural areas, there is still usually public transport. And it's not just like afterthought public transport. It's usually pretty good. It's not perfect. It's not as nice as being in the cities. And in Japan, most of the time, even in the rural areas, there is still like a thriving sort of downtown center of whatever little village or town you're in. And most people's houses who are not like even people actually who are on farms in the rural areas, their houses are also mixed use spaces where people can come and ride their bike or whatever. These slimes are kicking my butt. And get produce and things directly from you. And so there's still big differences between like sort of how the US and Canada by default organize rural areas and how a lot of the rest of the world does it. And also Japan, I think, does it pretty exceptionally well. Hold on. Reverend Mort. Oh. Okay, there's a lot of good things in chat. I always get to scroll back. Yep, Seattle for 5 years. Glad I remembered it was you, Brontor. Krellin, you said, speaking as someone that doesn't feel fear, being told that I cannot be brave feels diminishing. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think that, yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good definition of these words. And I would say that it also depends on context. Like that's one of the things for me is I'm very much like relativistic about a lot of things. And I think that bravery versus fearlessness versus whatever depends on context. And I would say that even if you can't feel fear, there are definitely still contexts that would make you brave. And even if you feel fear all the time, there are definitely still contexts that would make you brave or courageous or whatever. And so I think it's also a contextually dependent thing, not an absolute. And I don't want you to feel diminished, and I'm sorry that I contributed to that. Aradin, you said grass is always greener somewhere else, so the easier thing is to move rather than stay and work on making your own grass greener. It's true. It's very true. Silly Mithiel, I literally just moved to the Seattle area as a mentally disabled vet. I specifically looked for a walkable neighborhood. And you just moved into your apartment last Thursday. Well, congrats on the move. I hope you enjoy Seattle. Yeah, I think that there are some areas of Seattle that are quite walkable, like the Cap Hill area and some parts sort of in the northern area of Seattle. Pioneer Square, I would not say is because it's a little too industrial or like commercial, but it's okay and it's pretty well connected. Reverend Mort, you said the real answer to your lair question is to be found in the internal wisdom of Little John and the East Side Boys. Get low, get low. Yes, okay, I like that. I like that. Jerry, you said, reminds me of that gif of Tim Curry yelling about going to space. Yes, Reverend Mort, the one place untouched by capitalism. Baron Silly Mithiel, it's great place. In my case, we had kids and family, was far away and childcare is expensive. Hope you have a great time in Seattle. Baron Northgate was all very walkable. Yeah. Yeah, I think it depends on the area in Seattle. The thing that I really just didn't like about Seattle is that hanging out with friends often meant spending like $50 or more. And if you didn't have that, you often just couldn't hang out with your friends. Just, it's very expensive. And a lot of people just didn't want to just come over to your house. That was the problem. It's like you could just go over to each other's houses and hang out or go to the park or whatever. And a lot of the time, people just wanted to go out and do things at restaurants or whatever. But there are some pretty good video game cafes, and one of them is pretty nice. Ray Gun Lounge is not the one I'm thinking of. It's the other one that I don't remember the name of. But there you could get like a cup of coffee and then stay the whole time and borrow their video game or their board games, and it was really nice. Wow, these little sprites and slimes are kicking my butt. I'm definitely gonna need a heal after this. Oh my goodness, so much. So much. I gotta get this bat. I don't want to get killed. Gaia. Oh no, there's another bat. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is a dangerous cave. I wonder if this is a bad luck day. When we get back, I'll have to check. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna eat some things. I'm gonna eat some things. I think also, speaking of Seattle, the expansion of the light rail is a really big deal. It's definitely making, oh, I'm actually pretty good on health. I was going to eat another guy, and then I don't need to. It's definitely making the city a much better city. And it was so controversial, though, the light rail expansions, like Sound Transit 3, I remember, was just like this proposal for the expansion of the light rail. And it was just, ugh. Okay, wow, okay, wait, there's some interesting things. I need to back up for a second. I'm Silly Mythiel, I'm actually in the far south in Tukwila, but I'm very connected to transport. Good, that's so nice. Bronter, oh yeah, I think Tukwila is a stop on the new light rail system they are putting in too. To Chibron, you might consider upgrading your sword soon. At the Adventurers Guild for the Mines, I agree to Chibron. Silly Mythiel, I'm literally next to the light rail now. Reverend Mort. To be fair, he was yelling that from an alternate timeline in which time-traveling communists assassinated Einstein. Yes. Verontor, the light rail system was very needed. It'll let you get all over Seattle way easier than the bus lines, even though those weren't bad. And Reverend Mort, so I presume Einstein's death facilitated the untouching of space. That or the Japanese Empire getting mechs and George Takei for an emperor. Maybe that did it. Nice. Okay, I gotta chop us some rocks so I can see if I can find a ladder down. Krellin, you say if capitalists have taken over our entire Earth in an alternate timeline, the time traveling communists need to try harder. Yes. Um, Goodness. So some of the problems though, like I think that this is a really good example, is if you move to a city and you have a disability and you have, like when I first moved to Seattle, I was actually struggling with some pretty serious mental health and physical health issues. I just had 2 heart surgeries. I had a lot of trauma from almost dying several times. And the infrastructure in Seattle actually was really good because I lived in First Hill, which was not the nicest. It was pretty boring, but it was very close to Cap Hill, which is very walkable, and it made it, oh no, I just ate a grape with no need. Wasted a grape. It was delicious though. And because I was in an area that was well connected and there was a grocery store within walking distance, though it was like 20 something minutes to walk to it. Whereas here, there are like 5 grocery stores within a 6 to 8 minute walk from me. And where I lived at the end of my time in Seattle, the nearest grocery store was about an hour walk away because where I lived got too expensive. But anyway, that made a big difference. Like being able to sort of have everything I needed so close and be able to sort of get to different places. It was really tough. I needed like a specialist urologist at one point because I have chronic kidney stones. Like anytime you do a little scan of my kidneys, you'll find there are dozens of stones in both of my kidneys. It's frustrating. Not much I can do about it. I just try to drink 3 liters of water or more a day. Stairs, finally, to help prevent kidney stone formation or from them getting too big. And I needed a specialist, and the nearest one was like 2 hours away by public transit. And luckily at the time I had Apple Care, which is the like care for people who are really poor, because I was also really poor. It was great being like disabled and having serious mental health issues and being really poor. All together, it was just a rough time in my life. Luckily, my partner, Charlie, was incredibly supportive and good. Made a big difference as well. But the thing is like, it's not necessarily great to be in a situation where you're completely dependent on a romantic partner. Like I wasn't, because Washington State offered a lot of other infrastructure in terms of its healthcare infrastructure. Like one of the things that it offered, but I didn't find out about until way later, is that technically I could have gotten a free bus, like private bus thing. It was like a big van to take me to those doctor's appointments that were like 2 hours away, rather than having to take 4 different buses to get there. And because I was on Apple Care, because I was poor. And I mean, I still am poor, but was more so at the time. And if I were not in that situation, if Washington State didn't have this kind of infrastructure and support, like having good, this is taking so long to kill this one ghost. I definitely need to upgrade my sword. But the thing is, if I didn't have that infrastructure, right, then had my relationship not been super good, it would have made me really vulnerable. Or even if it was good, I just still would have been vulnerable. It would have meant that there was fundamentally a ton more risk. And when you have a lot of these problems, you can have less agency, right? Like autonomy is our fundamental right to decide what happens with our body, our mind, our spirit, our information, everything. And agency is our power to act on our autonomy. And when you're in that kind of situation, oh my goodness, am I going to survive this? This is a bit rough, y'all. I hope I live. Can I kill all of these? I don't think so. I got to get out of here. I got to leave the mines. Okay, I'm gonna go home. Well, I'm gonna go, I think I'm gonna drop off the solar essence. Oh, and the aquamarine. I'm gonna go drop these off at the community center. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna turn down how often Nightbot asks everybody what they're thinking. I just want to hear all your thoughts. But then y'all have been so good today, and it's great. And yeah, anyway, I'm gonna go bring these things to the community center. If I didn't have all of this infrastructure, right? If there wasn't ways in which the community by default was already showing up for me, I don't know how my life would have gone, right? I was like really in a bad space when I moved to Seattle. And my relationship really helped because it was a very healthy, very caring, very safe relationship. But I also was really lucky because you can be in that kind of space and it's just so vulnerable, right? Like I think you all get what I'm trying to say is it's just really risky when you don't have other options. And luckily, Seattle made it possible to have other options. It was very good about a lot of these things. But had I not been in that kind of space, it could have easily been a very negative position for me. And so I would have had even less autonomy because this is one of the things where it's like when your agency is reduced because of systemic oppression or whatever, it just makes a lot of things harder. Oh yeah, small magnet ring. What do I need for this? I need a frozen tear and a fire quartz. Okay. Then I get the mine carts repaired, which will be very nice. Look at the Junimo bringing this little package. That's so cute. So this is an example, though, of how things like infrastructure can be directly related to your freedom as an individual and like your health and your longevity and all kinds of problems socially. And it's one of those things that seems really obvious when you say it, but it's often one of those things that we forget about when we think about who we vote for or how our city and town councils make decisions, and like who is considered in these different spaces. Okay, I need to check out this quest. Let's see. I've been forgetting people's birthdays. My goodness. I'm usually really on top of that. I need a sweet pea. Linus. Yes, I can do that. I'm gonna go do that right now. I'm gonna do that right now. Okay, you guys also said a bunch of things. I gotta back up because I think that there's a lot of good stuff in chat and I wanna read it out. Reverend Mort, you said, nah, if I remember correctly, it was like 33% American capitalist imperious with strangely skimpy uniforms for women and 33% Japanese monarchist in favor of string. Yes, yes. Red Alert 3 was a weird game, but it clearly knew what its audience cared about. Yes. Silly Mithiel, I have had to drink that much most of my life for other reason, but kidney stones are no joke. Aradin, yeah, I try to drink at least 3 liters of water a day. Reverend Mort, oh yeah, tying your well-being and survival to maintaining an intimate relationship is very problematic. It is, and it's, I think people throw around words like codependent, often misusing them from their technical definition, but they're trying to often talk about essentially this problem of like the risks inherent in this kind of dependence that we have upon each other. And it's not inherently wrong or problematic or bad to be able to, and sometimes need to, rely on our partners or our family. And we don't want to reduce the risk, or we don't want to keep the risk. We want to reduce the risk that people are going to have to stay in really negative situations because they have no other options. We want to increase everybody's autonomy and agency. Philosophy bros would say like we want to increase everybody's liberty, which basically means our decisions to make our decisions, our ability to make decisions that we actually consent to from a place where we are not coerced, or we actually are doing the things that we want and making decisions for ourselves about what we want in our lives. And so it's rough. And if you're in there's been a lot of research that said like a lot of the times with economic downturns, people will stay in romantic relationships. Typically, women, especially women of color, will stay in unhealthy, even abusive romantic relationships because they simply cannot afford to leave. Not even talking about the risks or dangers of leaving, but simply because we have such little housing, and housing is so expensive, and life is just so expensive that they have no choice. And it's really rough. It's really rough. Okay, continuing. Aradin, yeah, I'm super worried about kidney stones. They're not fun. They're genuinely not fun. Krellin, apparently skimpy uniformed women. Yes, I mean, I think that's something a lot of people like. Thank you, Silly Mithiel, for thinking my bail was good. Krellin, speaking of autonomy, have you talked before about how capitalism conflates access to capitalism with autonomy? Yes. Yes. And I think that's a very good point. I haven't actually directly talked about it. I'm saying yes because I think I agree with you. But I should talk about that more because that's really relevant. Silly Mithiel, Krellin, I've had to think about this for a while. I wish it didn't make you feel diminished that I don't consider fearlessness bravery, but I can't change my opinion. I still don't consider it diminishing. They're different things to me. Saying something yellow. Yeah, I mean, I would agree with this, Silly Mithiel, and I would say that Krellin's feelings are also valid here. That where there's a difference in perspective, and I could say that maybe you're not intending for it to be diminishing, but the impact could still be that Krellin feels that way. I mean, that Krellin has directly said this. So yeah. Anyway, what was I doing? I was going this way and I don't remember why. Well, I may never know why I was going this way, but that's okay. I'm gonna put all my foods in here, and I'm gonna equip my new ring because magnet rings are nice. Yeah. Nice, Silly Mithiel. Um, okay, I gotta put all of this stuff in here. Yeah, I mean, I think we're having good discussion times. Um, Reverend Mort, you added, as someone who comes from a clinically diagnosed codependent childhood, people's overuse of that term is understandable but also frustrating. Yeah, I mean, I think it's really tough when you like know the technical meanings of certain words and then people use them incorrectly. It can feel actually really disempowering. Like people love to use the word triggered, and I get what people are trying to say when they say that. And to me, being triggered is like I was diagnosed clinically with PTSD, and being triggered was a very specific experience for me. I've since gotten treatment, and I think yeah, very displeased spirits. Well, that explains why I almost died in the mines. And it also can be frustrating because sometimes I feel like when people are just using triggered to mean like I feel slightly upset or annoyed or bothered or uncomfortable, it can feel like, well, I was going to look up the weather too. This tool that I have to explain my own experience of things is not as effective anymore. And because a lot of people on, like the alt-right and everything tend to use it as pejorative now, it also means that like if I actually want to talk about the impacts that trauma has had on my life and my capacity to do things, people kind of just feel like I'm being whiny or like whatever, not recognizing like, no, I'm actually talking about like a medical diagnosis that is going to have lifelong impacts. And even though I've had really good treatment, it's still an important thing for me to discuss. Weather report. Is it going to rain again tomorrow? Beautiful and sunny. Okay, so I'm going to prepare for that. Reverend Mort, and it tends to stigmatize all kinds of social reliance on others. It does. I mean, this is one of those complicating things where it's like we can talk about problems of excessive togetherness or dependence, but it's not all the same, and it's not all bad. I don't know if she's going to be done tomorrow. I kind of doubt it, but I'm going to get these things together just in case. I got my watering can. I'm going to get my hoe. I'm going to break some rocks probably tomorrow. Probably going to have melons soon. Let's see. You're just here 24/7 all night. Aradin, you said, oh yeah, Silly Mithiel, you said you currently have a diagnosis of PTSD. I hope you get the support that you need. And Harborview Medical Center has a very good trauma program. I've given them shout outs before, and they helped me a lot. And it's especially accessible to people who are really poor. I don't know what your financial situation is, but it was very good for me. Aradin, you said, yeah, it tends to play into that notion that everyone should be able to take care of themselves and that asking for help is a sign of weakness. It is very sad. And I think this also goes hand in hand with this point. So one of the things I want to talk about is like in the 1940s, there started to be these like informational public messaging videos about the new American dream of freedom on wheels and like I'm literally quoting an automotive age traveling on time-saving superhighways, Futuramas. And this is part of where this like newly kind of toxic idea of self-reliance came about. Like I think there's a healthy amount of self-reliance because we don't want to get into a kind of learned helplessness. And it's still kind of from the 1940s, there was a new narrative that started to really equate private ownership of things like motor vehicles with autonomy, with masculinity, with, being smart, with being capable. And I've mentioned before in the stream, there's the 4-part documentary series from the BBC called The Century of the Self. And it really looks like at how Freud and Freud's nephew were really instrumental in the development of modern advertising and how they really were exploiting fears and dreams and desires in order to shape our conceptions of ourselves in the modern world. There's even this whole like Irving Gottman wrote this really great book on the presentation of self in everyday life, but there was like a way in which that whole idea was then abused to say like, if you don't dress well, that means that you don't think well about yourself. And like if you're not buying new clothes all the time, it basically means you hate yourself. Um, uh, yeah, scrolling back up, Reverend Mort, because I think a lot of people don't really know what a toxic dependence looks like. They start to view all kinds of dependence as inherently toxic, which is very bad because it encourages viewing transactionary relationships as more healthy by design, which they're very much not. I just can't agree with you more. Beautifully put. Wonderful. Silly Mithiel, I have Apple Care and I am very well engaged with care through the VA. Nice. Reverend Mort, yeah, that almost obsessive cultural focus on independence is so destructive in general, but in particular, it can be devastating to people engaging in things like kink, where things like aftercare and mutual aid are so vital to mental health and safety. Absolutely, I definitely agree with you. Barantor, you say that the VA in Seattle is actually pretty good. I'm so glad. Silly Mithiel, actually mental health care in the pandemic has gone almost all online, and that has made it much better and more accessible. That's really glad. I'm glad to hear that. Aradin, yeah, the toxic aspects make it even harder to talk about the healthy aspects of self-reliance. It's very true. Like there is a healthy self-reliance and there's a toxic self-reliance. And there's like a not wanting to take advantage of people and being unable to accept people caring and wanting to help you. And it's the lines can be really blurry, but they don't inherently have to be. Why is a tree just coming here again? Gotta smash that little seedling. Silly, silly tree. Okay, look at these melons. I am very excited for these melons. They make me very happy. I really wish that they existed in real life. I don't know any melons that are like this. I didn't even realize it right away. They just looked so delicious and like felt so real that it didn't even occur to me right away that like there aren't any pink melons like this in real life. Anyway, I'm hungry. I'm gonna definitely enjoy having some dinner later today. Just hungry thinking about melons. Um, And Reverend Mort, you said, the irony of people not knowing what toxic dependence looks like, meaning they instead turn to toxic self-reliance because they can't tell toxic self-reliance from healthy self-reliance. Yeah. Determined melon jelly is worth a lot of gold in the game compared to other. Ooh, that's very good advice. Thank you. Well, I can see that my two jelly making pots are ready to go, so I'm gonna make some melon jelly. Sounds like a great thing. I need gold melons, right? So I need to save those. Hopefully I will get a few more before the end of the season. Yeah, it is like food designed to look good in the photos. It's very frustrating. I want these melons to be real. They look so good. Oh, Dougie, you're running into the thing. You gotta go around it. So yeah, we really started to equate things like owning a vehicle with moral goodness and like freedom and this idea that if you didn't have one, you were basically trapped. And I think that we then designed it so that that's also become true, that if you didn't have a vehicle in a lot of places in the US, you really are trapped and you really are in not a very good way. And I mean, rural areas can in many ways can be a kind of exception, though you can still have public transit in them, like I talked about with Japan. And Japan invests and subsidizes very heavily its public transit, which is part of why it's like basically the best in the world and serves the most people and everything. Oh, can't go this way. I gotta chop down some trees today, I guess. They're kind of all in the way. I was gonna smash boulders, but I guess it's chop down trees. The only melon I like is cantaloupe. And silly Mithiel, oh my god, I feel like this is the whole melon section. If I said it, would sound like sexual harassment for me. It isn't clear from my username. I'm a dirty old man. Usually don't appear like a man at first glance by username, and usually don't appear old in person in reality. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of a dirty old man on the inside too. Silly Mythiel. Yes, try living in San Antonio or suburban Phoenix without a car. It sucks. And I mean, it doesn't have to be this way. There are definitely some areas of the world, and for some people, especially people with, need for mobility aids, where having a personal vehicle, as was mentioned earlier in the chat, is really essential. And we don't have to make it so all of our cities are designed that way. The next thing I want to add is that I'm going to put back these things because I don't need them right now. I'm going to get my axe because I got to chop down some trees, and I'm going to make some melon jelly, but not with my gold melons. Okay, I'm going to put my gold melons over here. I do have one already, so I have 3 out of the 5 that I need. We're all dirty old men, yes. And Silly Mythiel, I used to spend an 8-hour day to take a 90-minute circus class by bus in Phoenix. Wow. Wow. And Arad, and some of us quite clearly one way or another. Remember, it's okay to be a dirty pervert on the inside as long as you maintain good hygiene to keep you clean on the outside. Also clean on your regular STD checkups, please. Yeah, even though I've been married for many years and we are monogamous, I always get a full STD checkup every year because I'm like, I don't know, something could have been missed. It's not impossible for things like infidelity to happen. I have no reason to suspect my partner of this, nor would I do that, but it happens in life. But also things can manifest later in life. I've always been that way. Ever since I made my sexual debut, I get yearly STD tests. And we have a 90-second ad coming up soon, which means we're almost at the hour. At the 2-hour mark. I have so many things I want to talk about still, and I still have to finish this day. Woo! Okay, I was getting more notifications. Oh yeah, I was gonna put these melons in here. I'm gonna save them. I'm gonna save this, I'm gonna save this, and then I need gold corn. Sell these other things because I want money. Money. I'm gonna sit down too while the ad rolls. Tell me when the ads start. I'm also just gonna sit down now. I've been standing for 2 hours. I need to sit. West my reary bones. And I definitely didn't pronounce that word right. Krellin, you should keep a notepad by the computer so you can write down what you wanted to talk about but didn't get to. I actually have a Word doc up. Well, yes, I have a document up where I put all my notes and I mark off how far I got in the chat. But you're absolutely right. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to keep track of anything. Okay. Let me know when you're all back. You might all be back and I'm just sitting here singing and dancing. Let me know when you are back. Let me know when you are back. Let me know. Boop, boop. Yay, we return. Okay. I enjoyed singing and dancing. Yay. Thank you. I'm glad. I love dancing. And yeah, everyone underestimates my age too. I had a big complex about it for a lot of years. I sent my friends recently a picture of me when I was 20. And I was like, I didn't tell them. Uh, how old do you assume I am when you look at this picture? Don't try to guess what my real age is, but like looking at the picture, what age do you think I am? And people generally said like 14 to 16. That was when I was 20. So people really, oh yeah, silly Mythiel. 42 college girls guessed I was 24. I did not want to admit my real age. Yeah, my real age is I'm 35. I don't know how I got to be that old. I never signed up for that. I don't feel 35, but I also don't know what that means to feel 35. I don't feel anything. I feel like I am an endless eldritch fairy. I don't know. Pixie. I don't know. Whatever. I'm unaging and timeless. Um, did Shivani said, as a woman living in a culture that equates youth with beauty, I sometimes works in my favor, but people don't often treat me like I have the life experience that I do. Same. A lot of times people talk down to me because they think that I'm in my early 20s still. And I get like I have a very like youthful vibe or whatever. And we should also just respect young people more. Krellin, everyone thought I was in my 20s when I was 17, and people still thought I was in my 20s when I was in my 30s. Yes, Aradin 41 here. Though there are so many things that probably make me seem younger. Never been on a date, never kissed, never had sex, etc. Yeah, that makes sense. Reverend Mort, yes, I always look young, but I've realized that if I go for a clean shave rather than stubble, I immediately go into jailbait territory. Wow. Ariana is a fae. Yes, youthful vigor. Yes. Okay, I'm gonna chop some things. I'm gonna chop some trees. Can I just get rid of this tree right here? Even though I like trees like right in front of the house, it's kind of in the way. Kind of in the way. Yeah, Brontor, I have that Tom Bombadil energy. I like that. Thank you. I will take that as a compliment. Yeah, I think that I'm yeah, even people who know how old I am and people that I am older than will sometimes forget and be like, you'll understand when you're older. I'm like, my dude, I am older than you. You know this. I'm just hyperactive. That is all. I'm just, yeah. Um, and people always think that Charlie is older than me, and he's not. He's 4.5 years younger than me. Yes, yes. Silly Mythila, you said, oh wait, Reverend Mort, you said, now I picture Tom having a full Texas drawl in the next movie or the Amazon show. Lovely. Silly Mythila, yeah, when I was in the Navy with an extremely high security clearance, an officer accused me of lying about my age to get into the Navy. No idea how he thought I passed the background inspection. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Reverend Mort, y'all boys from that Shire. Nice. And silly Mythiel. Ah, cradle robber. Yes. Yes. My one of my younger brothers is 5 years younger than me, and he's for some reason thought it was creepy. And I was like, why are you making it creepy? Like, it's not creepy that my spouse is roughly the same age as you. It's not like I was dating him when he was in high school. He was 22 when we met. Yeah, 22 when we met. Oh no. Oh no, I chopped too many trees. What did I do to myself? It's only noon. Okay, I'm gonna drink the Joja Cola and I'm gonna eat some grapes. Maybe some spicy berries. That sounds good. I'm gonna drink the Joja Cola. Oh man. Okay, at least I didn't get sluggish from overexertion. Um, okay, so people we tend to dream, right, often of moving away. Oh, I did not mean to open my box. To other places that are better, which is kind of rough because, you know, it makes us feel like the ideas of urban planning and design of public spaces aren't really things that impact things like quality of life, life expectancy, loneliness, also consent, community health, community like cohesion. sense of togetherness, but it does. It impacts all of those things. Veronica, you dated a woman 11 years your senior for a while, and she got a lot of comments about it. It's really interesting. When I lived in France, people assumed, people really like wink, wink, nudge, nudge Charlie about him dating an older woman because they assumed that he must be really cool and really interesting and like sophisticated to gain the attention of an older woman, which is actually true. He is all of those things. Um, and it was very interesting because people really acted as though like it was a mark, like a compliment to both of us that he was dating someone older than him. And I like that, I guess. I mean, it's still like gender stereotypes, and but I guess it's better than the other gender stereotypes that I would normally face. Um, and yeah, yeah. Anyway, uh, Reverend Mort, you said, I've dated so many people with strange focuses on age, never dated anyone younger than themselves, never dated anyone less than 15 years older than them, never dated 3 years. It's weirdly obsessive for a lot of people, yes. Silly Matthew, I don't dream of moving to other places that are better. I am a tumbleweed, a nomad. After 1 or 2 years, I start getting the itch to be someplace else. Usually I want to be in another country. I can relate to that. Veronica, my wife is a month younger than I am, though that was never really our focus at all. Yeah. I mean, the only thing that it really factored in with me is like I had a lot more dating experience. I had actually been married already and divorced when I met him, and it was a very short marriage. It was less than a year. It is just a stupid story. But, you know, I had a lot more dating experience than him and a lot more life experience. So basically, the whole thing was I wanted to take it really slow. I wanted to take the relationship really slow, not like rush into things too quickly. I really wanted to make sure that like I was protecting his autonomy and his sort of needs and his freedom and like not taking advantage of him knowing less about what's normal in dating than me or like just having less life experience. And I didn't want to take advantage of him money wise or anything like that. Yeah, did you run +1 in the short marriage club? Yeah, you know, it was for a visa and it was a bad idea, basically. Basically, he was going to get deported and we didn't want to break up yet. So we were like, let's get married. I can sponsor your visa as my spouse. And then regret. Basically, just it was a bad idea. We were really different and yeah, married for the visa too. Yeah. I mean, my spouse was an American and they needed a visa to stay in Japan. And still, yeah. I don't know if it was for love. I can't really say. I don't really remember. I know we're just past 2 hours, and I'm gonna go just to the end of this day. Then I'll probably chat a little bit more about some of the things I wanted to add, and then I'll stop. I'm running out of energy again. Oh no. Too many things to do on the farm. Why I'm so limited in energy. Oh, I got some coal. That's nice. All right, I'm gonna walk around and forage. I'm just gonna walk around and forage. Yes, worms. Worms. I love the worms. They're like one of my favorite parts of this game. But I love this game all just in general. Timing, I'm just ready to feel exhausted. Yeah, yeah. My first marriage made me exhausted. And it got weird fast. Anyway, I don't want to keep talking about that. It's not very interesting. Um, I'm just glad that I'm not married anymore. Thankful that divorce is possible. Okay, so not every place in the US and Canada are beyond sort of saving. I'm not trying to say that. I'm going to say hi to Elliot. I've encountered some beautiful shows. Oh my goodness. I was going to bring a sweet pea to Linus and I totally forgot about it. I gotta go. Can I still do that? Delivery? Fine all day? Linus, we're doing that right now. Doing right now. I can't believe I just remembered. Um, okay. So not every place in the US and Canada are like beyond saving. I'm not trying to say anything like that. Lots of places that had built wealth and prosperity can do it again. So if you live in a place that was once really like vitalized and great, don't fear, never despair. I mean, you can despair if you want to. I'm gonna bring you a gold one. I'm gonna put the other things. No, not that. I don't want to do that. I'm gonna put things in there. Nice. Organize this. Nice. Great sweet pea delivery. Okay. So then places that had good bones, basically, especially things like the streetcar suburbs of the early 20th century, they can be built upon anew and revitalize and rebuild their cities and their communities. Like things can be better. And, um, I just think that we'll have to make an active choice related to that. And it'll take active investment to get there. Um, and we're not likely to do that if we keep just assuming that the amount of cars that we have and the usage of cars are just going to be unchanged forever. We're just going to keep using cars at the current pace, and that it's not, I'm going to talk to my future husband. Yes. Sebastian, I'm looking forward to the cold, damp season. I feel more at home. Nice. Um, and one of the central issues, though, is that car dependent suburbia really can't continue the way it is. Because if you think about it, what's going to happen when gas prices, oh, you just hide behind this bush, dude. Linus, oh, is that the sweet pea I requested? Thank you so much. Here's a little something for your trouble. You don't need to pay me. I would have brought you one anyway. Have you come to ridicule me? What? No, my dude. No. I'm just minding my own business. No, I won't be your friend. I got some stones, though. Oh, no, I'm not. Oh my goodness. I'm going to make myself sluggish from overexertion. Oh, maybe he's peeing. Good thought, did you run? I would not have thought of that, but maybe. Maybe. So, car dependent suburbia can't continue. I think a good way to look at this is to think about just how gas prices have gone up, mostly on speculation issues, and how that really makes us all really vulnerable. And gas prices will go up. Remember, we've got the energy return on energy investment that we've talked about before. Most near surface oil has already been dug up. So oil is going to be increasingly more expensive and harder to obtain, more energy intensive to get. And the return on investment will be lower and lower, and that will drive prices up. And we've got a limited shelf life to a lot of these things. Is basically the point I want to make here. And so we have to start thinking about things differently. And I know I've basically talked about all of this before on the stream, but I still think it's good to really stress these points. And since I'm out of energy, I'm gonna go lie in bed and kind of finish out the day and chat a little bit before we go. So it's not, oh yes, level 7 foraging. I can make a loom now. 1+1 watering can, +1 hoe, and I can make quality retaining fertilizer soil too. It's not just about like personal preference. It's not about, for how people want to live, but that literally these places cannot and will not be able to sustain themselves in the future for numerous reasons. Traditionally, cities around the world have been built and designed pretty similarly, like I talked about. I gave some sources for this earlier in the stream. That everyone has everything they need generally within walking distance. And there were usually horse, rail, or streetcar connections between places, but once you got to your destination, you could get anything you needed within walking distance. Now, I'm not talking about super rural, I'm talking about cities and towns. Even medieval England, even ancient Rome, even Heian period Japan followed these same sort of ways of doing things. And since the start of cities, streets were the main public gathering spaces where people met, talked, shared news, and gossip. And town and city squares were also usually used for things like market days and festivals, and also places where important social functions happened, such as news being spread, the town crier, or whatever. And like preachers of any religion would spread their message. Like even in Japan, this was very traditional. My favorite Japanese monk, Ryokan, Ryokan, was a mendicant, so like a traveling monk. He was in the Zen lineage, but he was really rejected a lot of things. He was very anti-authoritarian and cool, wrote great poetry. And he also, in his writings, you can learn a lot about how older Japanese cities were structured and the different social levels of life there and everything. And also things like jesters and musicians and performers would be in these city squares sort of performing for everybody. And this was, again, pretty standard across a lot of the world. And uh, what else was I going to say? Even in medieval England, it was common for many multi-story buildings that weren't the homes of the elites to be mixed-use spaces with stores and shops and artisan workshops out front and living spaces above. So medieval England, it would often be if you had like a 3 or 4-story building, the first frontage area would be a shop, and it would have like this closed thing with a double shutter. You could lift the top out and it would create like an awning to protect the wares, and then you could lift the bottom out and become a place to display things. And then behind would be the rest of the shop. But the shop could also be converted into meeting spaces. It could be converted into a place to have a celebration with just friends and family. It was very multi-use. It was also usually a workshop, a place of employment. And these were and are places that can flex and change over time as the makeup and needs of a city evolve. Even ancient Rome and Tokyo had these same kinds of patterns. But in the late 1940s, the US and Canada started on a very different development path. Like the informational videos I talked about, where it started equating the American dream and even the very concept of freedom with a motor vehicle. And the main changes were, of course, increasing focus on cars, but also instead of slow, needs-based development around existing, well-maintained infrastructure, huge neighborhoods were built up very quickly from scratch, from nothing, on the edges of cities and towns. And the typical building style of being mixed-use residential neighborhoods that were like mixed use, there was like businesses, grocery stores, everything kind of contained in one area. Purely residential neighborhoods became the norm and were often by law completely separated from all commercial buildings, including grocery stores, pharmacies, doctors' offices, restaurants, shops, etc. And it started being necessary to have a car to get between them. And it's become so common to need a car in daily life functioning that it doesn't even seem strange in the US and Canada and other places that have since started following the same model of development. And since this way of developing cities and towns, several generations have passed of people who have never known anything else. And a lot of this was intentional, exactly, silly Mithiel. So this is one of the things, this is kind of one of the places where I want to start. We don't have time to keep going into it today. I want to end here, basically. If for anyone who just joined, please feel free to check out the other videos. If you like it, feel free to just subscribe. You don't have to do it. Just check out other things. And thank you all for joining me today on the stream. I had a lot of fun hanging out. Very nice chat. And next time we'll talk more about the development of these cities and how things have kind of changed over time. And see you all on Sunday for the interview stream. We are going to be interviewing the person who does Happy Sex Talk, a podcast, who's also a youth consent and sex education activist, Erica Butler. And also consider supporting us on Patreon. And yes, we do have a Discord, Silly Mithiel. If you contact me, I will give you the Discord information because I don't just have it here. But yes, we do have a Discord. All right. And I will talk to you all later. Yes, there is a Discord. I didn't set up the thing. You can email us and I will give you the Discord information. All right. Bye.